The bias is so great. Even when they've lost CNN and they're saying, wow, I can't believe this is allowed to happen. You think for 1 second that this judge, who's a Democrat donor, a Joe Biden donor, whose daughter is a Democrat activist, my father's not allowed to talk about those kind of things. He's under gag order because apparently we don't have a First Amendment right for former presidents in the United States anymore. That's gone too, along with all the other rights they're going to try to trample. If anyone thinks for 1 second that this biased Democrat operative judge wouldn't be willing to break further norms and rules to throw my father in jail, you don't think it's a coincidence that the sentencing hearing is 4 days before the Republican National Convention? 4 days?
Right.
Anyone who's been watching and thinks that there's any coincidence in any of these things left at all, ever, they're either stupid or they haven't been watching at all, because it would be hard to believe. I'd almost find it hard to believe that he wouldn't do that based on everything that I've witnessed with my own eyes from that very courtroom.
Yeah, is the president concerned about going to prison?
Honestly, he's just going to keep fighting. I mean, obviously, I imagine it's something in the back of his mind, but he's so focused on winning. He's so focused on fixing our very broken system. And honestly, he's the only guy with the guts, with the resolve to do that. I wish we had a deeper bench sort of in the Republican Party, but we don't. We don't have many fighters because it becomes too easy to be a weak Republican in Washington, D.C. If you're weak, if you fold when it matters, you can still be conservative light. You can vote 60, 70, 80% of the time with the Republicans, but when it actually matters, as long as you give in, they'll leave you alone. The Washington Post won't, hit you. They won't pick it in front of your house and your family. But that's only if you give up and you give in. My father's never going to do that, and that's why they're going to go full court press. But again, I think the American people see it. You see it based on the fundraising. You see it based on all of the people, some of the big stars, frankly, that would have lined up behind Joe Biden in 2020 because it was popular to do so. I can't repeat some of the words that they're using, but they're like, hey, basically, we're all in for Trump.
Yeah.
People understand what's going on, and they recognize, more importantly, that if they can do it to Donald Trump, and if they will do it to Donald Trump, there's no one that they won't do it to, and everyone is at risk. This doesn't stop with Donald Trump. Oh, we got rid of that one problem. We're going back to normal. We're going to have a proper democracy in this republic. No. They understand if you can do it to Trump with his platform, with his ability to fight, with his means to fight back, everyone is at risk. Everyone that gets in their crosshairs will be taken out immediately, and we can't allow that to happen. That's not a functioning democracy.
Yeah, it's remarkable that if you ask an ordinary American this morning, what was Trump's crime? What was he just convicted of? Nobody can tell me what his crime was. You think the bar would be a little higher when you're talking about a former president being charged and ultimately convicted of 34 felonies. You think the bar would be higher. You think everybody would be able to say that Donald Trump apparently did this. But nobody this morning can tell us what your dad did wrong. I don't think the jury has any idea. I think that the jury instructions were totally, I think the jury had no choice but to convict your father based on what was going on. Let me just ask you, how concerned are you that based on what happened yesterday, we have gone off a cliff as a country?
Oh, I mean, we obviously have, right? I mean, that's the whole point. The real jury verdict is going to be on November 5th. That's the only verdict that actually matters, because we have gone off a cliff. That's very my father in 2020 and before. Economically, globally, from a perspective of geopolitical politics, it's a total train wreck and a disaster. And yet there's people still wanting to make sure that the Democrats have this because they want power. So we are off a cliff. The only way to get back up and maybe release a parachute is on November 5th to end all of this nonsense. So I'm very concerned about it. You're right. There is no way that everything I saw and witnessed in this courtroom, that jury wasn't basically manipulated into having to almost vote guilty because you couldn't have our witnesses. You couldn't do this. If we objected to anything, it was always overruled. If they objected to anything, it was always sustained. It was such a setup from the beginning. And you're right. I sat in that courtroom for days. I have no idea what the charges were. They never even actually announced them. It's almost like it doesn't matter. There are legal scholars, Jonathan Turley and others. We don't know exactly what he's guilty of. We don't really understand. 4 jurors can think this, 4 more can do this, 4 more can do this. It doesn't have to be unanimous. As long as they all agree that something may have happened somewhere, we can jail a former president of the United States. I mean,